Hey, welcome back, Panther fans. I'm David Brown, along with Ryan Graham.
Hey, y'all.
And this is State of Atlanta.
How goes it?
It goes. So, funny story. I just got off the Black and Gold podcast doing their show. And as they were starting, one of the guys, Charles, we talked to Charles last night. Charles cracks open a beer right at the beginning of it. And Alex is asking him, he's like, what happened? Why'd you do that? I'm like, you guys are just copying us now. You guys are copying our shtick, cracking the beer open. But yeah, so
we're setting the standard. That's what we're doing.
Well, I told them, like many things, that Georgia State leads the way and App State follows, kind of like moving to the Sun Belt and, having Charlie Cobb as an athletic director. So I actually called them the feeder program to Georgia State. So
I get the feeling Charles did not like that.
Alex found it hysterical. Charles kind of grunted. Yes. So
sounds about right.
All right. Yeah. So we're talking about the Black and Gold podcast. One of, I'm sure there's probably many, but the main App State podcast. And we talked to them. Ryan and I talked to them for over an hour last night.
Yep.
About this game coming up and about many other things. But I'll broadcast that, or it'll be released as a part 2 to this podcast. And it'll be broadcast after this episode for those that are watching tonight. It was a good time. We had a lot of fun. I think I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had a good time. We all talked over each other quite a bit, but has to be.
That's to be expected with us. But yeah. So we will not be talking about App State all that much in this episode. I don't expect to, at least. Who knows? We always kind of just derail and go off on our own stuff, because we did talk about that last night. But I guess we should talk about it a little bit after we talk about Auburn game, just to get our own personal takes on it. So I feel like everything I said in the past 15 seconds, and we'll just start scratch. Get a new beer, crack it open, let's start over again, right?
Well, I feel like when you have guests on, and this is very uncharacteristic of you for whatever reason. You're very cordial, and you're nice about our program and I'm like, where is the shit talking David? Where's the David I've known for years and years and years? It's like you disappear.
Oh yeah, I'm a scaredy cat. I'm afraid of confrontation. Like I'll play a big
what
game.
Are you gonna do, man? Just you're the op, man. You're the moderator here.
I'm like a 4-pound dog behind a fence. I will yap and yap and yap. As soon as that gate opens, I'm running inside to the house. No, I can't do that. So yeah, we had a good time. And you're pretty much the same. You don't really change your character at all. You're kind of you.
Yeah, I'm just kind of an asshole. So, I do it.
I mean, I did call their school a feeder program to ours. So
and I'm actually surprised. That's sort of what in my head sparked it, because I remember like yesterday and with other guests that we've had on our show, like you're very welcoming to opposing fan base people.
Well, you'll notice we've never had anybody from the trash down south on here because
yeah. I imagine things would change pretty quickly.
That would have to be a last call episode. Like the entirety would have to be a last call episode. And I'm pretty sure to end with him logging off and driving up to my house and throwing some crap through my window, but a goat or something. Anyhow, Auburn game. How you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling like my mic keeps going out on me.
And it did it again. Excellent. So we're without Tim, and Ryan doesn't have a functioning mic. So everyone gets treated to me just saying whatever I want to all night long, because that's different than every other week.
It's hashtag too soon is what I'm
Oh, wow. Yeah, I got way worse. Worse.
So, okay, I'll work on it.
Yeah.
So, you tell me about your experience.
I'll tell you about my experience. So, man, I don't know. Where do you even start with the Auburn trip? I want to talk about the bus ride. I want to talk about the game day experience, but no one cares about that.
What? Yes, they do.
Well, we'll talk about it, but I mean, the game. There's no way in a million years we really expected to be in that situation with a minute 30 to go in the game. At the end, it was an exciting game. I never left my seat. I didn't go to the bathroom. I didn't get a drink. I didn't get food. I got nothing. I stood. For the most part, stood in my seat the entire time during that game. It was electric, exciting. We had a great turnout of Georgia State fans. Our little sliver of Jordan hair was blue and white and loud. I was getting messages from friends at home that you could hear the GSU chants on TV. The team played great. You know, that go ahead touchdown there with a minute 30 to go was the only offensive touchdown by Auburn the entire game. They hadn't scored a touch. The only touchdown they had at that point was that blocked punt. That is just, I mean, which really makes you feel like how horrible that blocked punt was, that it turned into points on that play.
That's what I call the biggest problem of the game. I mean, we all talk about the terrible refs call, but I think the punt block was probably the biggest issue of the night for us.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It was just, and yeah, that was on the other end of the field from where we were seated.
Right.
And I have not had the testicular fortitude to go back and rewatch this game again. So I don't know exactly what happened about it, but from what I was reading, the Gamer Church, it looked blatant. Like there was something being seen. You could tell that the defense was going to be coming and going to break through or something. I don't know. A timeout should have been called. Something could have happened to negate that. But when it comes down to it, punts are a very big common part of the game. You cannot mess up that kind of stuff when you're playing a team like Auburn.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And the thing is we'll punt like a million more times and not have that same exact thing happen to us. So it's that's what's kind of bull about it, you know. It's like it's so frustrating to see. So
yeah, let's talk about the that bad officiating call. You know, so we're sitting there. That happened right in front of us. That was the section of the field that we were on. So we had just as good of a view as anybody did on that play. And I had been more directly behind me, and he stands like 12 feet taller than me. So he had even a better view of what was going on. So when I saw it, I just assumed a reception because I don't know a lot about football. And he saw it immediately. He said no catch. He saw that ball.
He's the only one. He's the only one in the stands that said that.
Maybe he willed it into being. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe.
Yeah. So they say it's going to go to review. We start cheering. The rest of Jordan-Hare starts booing. And we're as they get the replay up on the TV. I think there's 1, 2, maybe even 3 replays, different angles, and Auburn fans are just cheering and cheering and cheering. And that 4th angle comes in, and the rest of Jordan-Hare goes silent while our section just erupts because it was blatantly obvious that ball touched the ground before he had any kind of control on it. So we were set. We're like, awesome, this is great. And then the SEC going to SEC.
Yeah. I still just don't know like what would have ended up happening had that call gone our way. Like, I mean, they were still marching down the field. Like, we still screwed that up without that call. So
absolutely, that drive was a 98-yard drive when things were all said and done. And I agree. We don't know what would have happened on if that was a 1st and 10 on our 30 play that turned into a 1st and 10 on the 10 or 1st and goal on the 10. It would have been a 2nd and 10 on the 30. That's harder to convert into a touchdown than a 1st and goal is. But, it's Auburn. You can still do it. They have a new quarterback in who's obviously marched down 98 yards or 60 yards at this point against us.
Yeah.
So we don't know, but it's just frustrating when a call like that happens. And, you played your hearts out that entire game and some of that happens and you don't know. And then on top of that, even despite being 1st and goal, not to dwell on the negative, but being 1st and goal, we turned it into a 4th and 9. A 4th and 9.
we still stopped them, really. I mean,
and in any other scenario, if this drive had happened in the opening act of the game, they probably just go for a field goal there. Yeah. But obviously they have to go for a touchdown. There's no other option. We got a lot of pressure on that new quarterback that, we basically got their starting. I think they said he left for a minor injury. Yeah. His minor injury was losing to Georgia State.
Yeah.
So, it's, man, if a billion kind of things could have happened, if we could have gotten just a finger on that ball coming down, if, somebody was actually able to pull down Finley before he threw the ball, so many things have happened. And we would be having a completely different conversation right now. You would probably still be drunk from Saturday.
Well, how many 3-and-outs did our offense have in that fourth quarter too? I mean, that sort of, I don't know much about play calling and the types of things that should have happened there, but it felt very like nothing seemed to be working for us, and it seemed very conservative by my gauging, and maybe a little too conservative.
Yeah, a little flashbacks to a certain game that was 28-3 at one point. We had scored 24 points against Auburn in the first 2 quarters of the game, more points than they have given up in any game so far this season. We did in the first 2 quarters, and then we could not sniff the end zone in the second half whatsoever at all.
I mean, I don't even know how many first downs we got. Like, seriously, it can't be many.
I may be wrong, but I want to say 1. Yeah. I want to say 1 in the second half.
Yeah.
I did go back and look at some of the stat sheets, but my brain's not good, so I don't remember things good. So, but yeah. So there you go.
2 more first downs, and we win that game. Really,
or if we would have managed to get another score, because if we've gotten a field goal, then them getting that touchdown and the extra point, or that they had to go for the 2 points, that would have tied the game,
right?
With us to have more time left. So who knows what could have happened? It's a bummer on all accounts. But man, it was a fun time. It was a fun 2 hours and 58 minutes, wasn't it?
Is that how long the game was?
It's 3 hours. I don't know.
No, that seems short. And also, I mean, the trip up there was just a blast, man. The bus was awesome. It was great.
We had a good time on the bus.
Yeah.
I almost didn't make it into the stadium though.
Why?
Remember, we're getting ready. We're packing the buses there. Everyone's there. We got the booze loaded up. We're getting ready to put it all on the bus. And my friend who came from out of town with me, she's like, "Do you have our game tickets?" So I'm making a mad dash from the stadium back home to pick up the tickets and get back. And yeah, that was.
You were fine. We weren't going anywhere without you.
No, I told Chris, I was like, I'm the one who's got your tip money, Chris. So you're not driving anywhere without me.
But it was nice. I for not a moment did I look at the road, that pretty crappy drive through down to Alabama, and I got pretty drunk all the way down there, and brought a good buddy with me who hasn't been to a game in a long time and hasn't been drunk in a long time, and he got pretty toasty as well.
Yeah, speaking of drunk, shout outs to our sponsors, Dry County Brewery, Max Beer and Wine, and then Post Meridium, our favorite canned cocktails.
Ooh,
man,
gimlets.
Those gimlets. Yeah. We made the mistake of telling Buddy how great they were. And so I came home with what little leftovers we had. There's not a single gimlet left over.
Yeah, there is a single one. It's in my fridge.
There you go. I knew there would be some stealing of things in there. They gave us. They gave us so much alcohol. We had such a good time, a good variety of everything. It was a lot of fun. And what little I do have left over, and that's actually quite a bit, I'll be bringing out to our State of Atlanta tailgates for us to enjoy. But it was a good time.
I drank a bunch of those.
Go ahead.
Tri-County Ambers. They were delicious. So
I can tell you did, because I think I only have a couple of those left.
Yeah, I probably had 3 or 4 of those on the way there.
Along with the gimlets and everything else.
And a couple of gimlets, yeah. So.
My favorite part about the drive down there was actually, there had been a bit of a miscommunication. I had given the dispatch office the location of the lot we were supposed to park at, but they had given the driver the address of Jordan-Hare Stadium. So it was never discussed, and we're just driving through. We're going through all the big tailgates and the parties, and then it's time to turn, like, I guess, right by Jordan-Hare, and it's all blocked off. And oops, we need to go about a mile south. So we're at a little T intersection in the middle of Auburn, game day, cars everywhere, people everywhere, and we're having to back a bus up. Chris is having to back a bus up. We're stopping all traffic. It's
like at Jordan-Hare too. I mean, we're a block away. Yeah.
It was great. Like everyone was just kind of stopping and staring at us. I wish we'd had the bus decked out in state of Atlanta gear, but instead, what was the logo on the bus?
It was the Talladega Tornado Marching Band.
They're like, what is this? The halftime entertainment? What's going on over here? Why is there a bunch of old dudes just drinking beer and laughing out the window?
That was good. I was like, do we know where we're going at all?
Nope, no idea whatsoever at all. But we found a good spot. We set up. We had a few drinks, and then we started making our way through Auburn. And I said on this podcast last week that whenever we've gone to these P5 program, when I've gone to the P5 program games, the fans have been nothing but welcoming and fun and want to talk to you, find out about your school and your program because nobody knows that Georgia State's in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And it was not the exact experience we got walking up to the game, trying to go in those tailgate areas. Not that anybody was rude or anything, but I just don't feel like it was incredibly welcoming. It was almost very corporate. Like everybody had their sponsor banners up on their tailgate tents, and
they are. It is professional tailgating company that we were walking through all their tents. I think I don't remember what the brand is, but you basically pay them some money and then they set up some tables.
No, but each tent had their own like this is this company
like a team name or something.
Yeah. I don't know. It just wasn't. It was they weren't rude. They weren't impolite. It just wasn't the same experience that I got. If there is an Auburn fan listening, Alabama fans are more welcoming to Georgia State.
I had a different experience, and I definitely. So there were a bunch of people wearing royal blue, like our blue, for some reason, even though that's not an Auburn color. And I kept on going up to them and being like, "Go State," and they were like, "No," and I'm like, "Well, you're doing it wrong."
I did see.
People were terrible to me. But I probably got like 2 or 3 beers from tailgates walking around.
You won out there because I actually literally I was talking to a woman and she literally just said, you just want a beer from me, and I'm like, yeah, I do.
Said, yeah.
And I guess that's what I'm getting at. People didn't give me free alcohol, so I'm mad at them now.
Yeah, no, I probably got 2 or 3 free beers.
I got one Fireball airplane bottle.
Well, I'm sorry. Ugh. I had one of those too. I'm like, God, I drink a lot.
You have a problem.
I'm like tallying now. Like now that we're discussing this, now, I didn't have anything at the game, and I didn't have anything on the ride home. So
did you drink on the ride home at all?
I had nothing on the way home.
I didn't drink during the game because they don't sell there. There were 2 guys on our bus that did have something during the game. They had managed to sneak in those little bladders.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And those 2 guys were passed out in the bus the entire ride.
When we stopped at Waffle House, we did get to stop at a Waffle House too, which was just phenomenal. I mean, that was so good.
Because I didn't, like I said, I didn't get up during the game, so I didn't get any food at all. And so that little bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich from Waffle House, wherever we were in Alabama, there's pictures on Twitter.
Texas bacon chicken melt. Ooh, that's it. That's where it's at.
And we ran into a Georgia State fan. We ran into a Georgia State fan there.
They got the best chicken in the world. It says it on a sign inside.
Well, it's got to be true. You can't put that on a sign and it not be true.
That's right. It's good, man. It's good stuff.
Yeah. But it was a good time. We got back. The game being 4:00, it was late getting back, but it was good. We're going to do it again. We're going to do South Carolina next year at Columbia. Hopefully we get some more people on the bus with us. Hopefully our sponsors will still support us. It was good.
I don't see him not.
Well, yeah.
Mac, come on, Mac's gonna Mac.
Mac's gonna Mac. Mac tonight. Do you remember that? Are you too young for that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I figured you were too young for that. So I guess we talked a little bit about, I guess, a kind of a transition a little bit. Based off what we saw, because our football season is definitely a tale of 2 halves of this quarter of football. We have the Army UNC game, we have the Charlotte Auburn game. Obviously, offense changed in between those two, whatever. What are you expecting to see out of Georgia State for the rest of the season based off what we've seen so far?
Well, I talked about it a little bit with the App State guys that I don't necessarily think Granger is the answer. I don't think he's been phenomenal. He's been good enough. And like Quad at his prime last year was definitely better. I don't know what Quad needs to shake him up and knock the rust off, but he needs something. And I think we're good enough for sure to win a lot of games still, but there's still just a lot of question marks. I don't know, man. I don't have a good answer for you.
Yeah, I don't really have one either, and I got asked that question by the black and gold guys, and I was kind of like, all right, this is where I had to start saying words that come out of my head into my mouth. And
so Granger for Charlotte, I mean, I think he passed for 50%, which is that's not going to cut it. It did cut it, but I mean,
actually, I think he's 50%. Like total for the season out of the two games.
He was like 60 at Auburn. He was, he did a little bit better, but he was still just good enough. I think, I mean, if he completes a couple more passes, we win the game. I mean, just a couple.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm just not feeling too high on quarterback right now. And we all know it's a key position. We all also know it's team sport, so everyone else can pick it up.
Yeah, but there's only one player, I guess technically there's only two players on the team that touch the ball every single snap.
Yeah,
and that's your center and your quarterback. So
we'll get Pinckney back though, and that should escalate the play of our quarterback. Our offensive line did protect the quarterback through both of those games pretty well. And if they're protected and they got Sam to throw it to, I think we'll be better for sure.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying is we still have not seen the full power of this battle station. We've still not seen the full, power of this.
Fully operational.
Fully operational. But because Sam Pinckney, he had, he missed the first game with some COVID stuff. He missed the second game for a nagging hamstring thing. Not sure if he played in Charlotte, can't remember, or against Charlotte. But he did have one reception for 8 yards against Auburn, so he's definitely back. And if we start seeing him back out there, we can create a passing game. I think that Granger gets a little bit more confident and obviously taking on the first team snaps in practice. I don't know what to expect myself, but I think obviously our rushing defense is what we wanted it to, what it's supposed to be. The passing defense has been competent in the last two games. Rushing game, our running game has been great. I mean, Tucker Gregg breaks away for a 50-yard touchdown against Auburn. That's phenomenal. We were able to move the ball easily, at least in the first half against them. It's going to come down to whether we can throw the ball or not.
Yeah. Can you believe Thrash is still a backup wide receiver? He's still number 2 on the depth chart. That's crazy to me.
It is, because I mean he should be a first string starting wide receiver just because his name is so cool.
I mean they must just flip him in and out, and he's only number 2 because somebody had to be number 1, and they probably just picked the senior.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if he's a senior, but the senior player.
I don't think he's a senior, but I also just say words that come into my head.
The older player, the player who's been here longer got number 1, even though they just put him in, depending on what the game situation is, which Thrash has been, killing it while Pinckney's been out.
Of note, we did get the wide receivers coach of Auburn fired after the game.
Oh, for real? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, even though it was a wide receiver that caught the game-winning ball, but yeah, that was kind of interesting. That's the fall guy that came out of that was they fired the wide receivers coach, and he still gets paid. Man, I don't know anything about football, but if I did, that's a career to go into. He got fired, and he's gonna get paid $600,000 out of the remainder of his 2-year contract.
I bet Bo Nix lost his job too. I mean, I guess we'll see on Saturday, but I will be interested to know whether or not Nick starts or whatever. Finley.
TJ Finley.
Yeah. Who also was not great. I mean, I was not impressed with either of their quarterbacks, but
based off of that post-game celebration, you would not know that he was not phenomenal because he ran around that field like he had just
all those Auburn players, man.
like he just won the Super Bowl, as a backup.
Every single one of those Auburn players, I was like, I don't know how they're not hanging their head in shame with the way that they played that game. They did not deserve to win that game one bit. Nothing.
No, not at all. And I get you're excited, and you saw your season kind of coming down to crashing down upon you by losing to Georgia State in week 4 of the season, and you're excited that that's not the case. But yeah, and again, you're 18 to 22-year-old guys here. But yeah, the celebration, you don't got a lot. I hope that coach was yelling at them in the locker room if that game was over.
Yeah.
Get your heads out of your asses. I mean,
couldn't have been happy about that.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been happy. And you know what? I want to apologize to Sean Elliott because he obviously had our players ready for that game. And even though Harsin had our number, named players and named strengths and all that stuff, like I gave him credit. They played pretty crappy, and we played pretty darn good. And I think we did all right. So.
Yeah, I want to give Coach props, and then I want to criticize him a little bit. So I'll start off with the good. Yeah, I watched the post game presser of Coach Elliott, and then I participated in the Monday's presser of Coach. And what we've said about Coach from the moments that we know, the time we get to spend with him at the Woods Chapel little media events and everything, he's an honest, good guy who I can tell really does truly care about not just the players as a person or as a player, but as an individual, and wants them to achieve greatness. And he was, physically emotional about losing that game and what it took away from these players who had played their hearts out for a full 60 minutes of football. So I just really like that in the coach. I really like that. It's maybe it's me watching too much Friday Night Lights back in the day, and the way the coach was so into the players, making sure that they were growing as human beings, and I don't know, all that kind of crap. I just liked it. I liked it. So under the criticism, that fan base we had at the stadium, that little sliver we had at Jordan Hare was awesome. I mean, it was the best Panther fans out there. And if you're an awesome Panther fan and you weren't there, I get it, but it was the best. It was great.
We were very loud, very animated. I heard you could hear us on TV quite clear throughout the game.
Right.
And I was very proud of our fan base for sure.
And so stuck around when that game was over, because you know what, if that 4th and down reception had been dropped, that pass had been dropped, you would have evacuated. Those Auburn fans would have evacuated that stadium. But we lost that game, and those fans stuck around, and they waited for every single player to leave that field. And the locker, their exit was right by our section there, so we get to cheer on all these guys. And there's a lot of heads hung low. There was some waves to the fans and whatnot. They were visibly upset, but we stuck around and we waited for Coach Elliott. And I love you, Coach. I really do, and I want to watch us succeed under you. But he didn't even look up to the fans. There was maybe a little hand kind of signal while it was down at his waist. He didn't look up at the fans. He didn't wave. And I know you're upset, but man, come on. I would have loved some acknowledgement of the fans that came down there and cheered their hearts out for, however many hours that game was. I was a little bummed about that. It really bummed me out.
Well, I'll say I don't think I put my eyes on him at all during that game. Not once, not after the game, not during the game. I didn't make it before the game, so I missed the little eagle, which whatever. But I don't care if he never looked up, man. He was busy. This is his job.
Yeah, well, that's the thing though. Is yes, it's his job. He's paid to be here, and we all pay for him to be here. Yeah. And or I shouldn't say we pay for him to be here. We pay to be there. I would have appreciated just a look up and like a wave and something like thanks for everything you did during this game. Sorry we couldn't bring it home or whatever it is. So I'm not going to dwell on it. Once we have finished this conversation, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. But
I think that's just to add a little more to it though. I think it's really clear how pissed off he was at the outcome of that game and how out of control it felt for him. Because I think that. I don't know if he's gotten fined or anything, but I'm pretty sure it's like against NCAA rules to criticize refs after a game, and he's done nothing but.
I think he has chosen his words very wisely.
Okay, all right.
Where because he said things like, when you play the SEC, these are the things you got to play with,
Right.
and stuff like that.
The
So
ESPN had an article on the bus ride home. I mean, I got a push notification from ESPN about Coach Elliott being like, the refs blew the game for us.
Well, he didn't say the refs. He said that call.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
That call did,
Yeah.
not that the refs got it wrong or anything like that. So yeah, he's a smart man. He knows how to choose his words wisely. He's not going to be getting that $10,000 fine or whatever it is. But yeah, all right. Are we done with Auburn?
I mean, what else are we gonna do? I don't know what's on the agenda.
Yeah, because I don't send an agenda out.
That's
did you hear that Georgia State's moving to Conference USA?
Oh, thank goodness! I'm so excited about that. We finally get to play Old Dominion again.
No.
No, are they not CUSA?
They are CUSA, but this is beach volleyball. Beach volleyball is
right. I broke that news in the chat.
I had tweeted it out before you put it in the chat. I was actually on the presser with Coach Lanier when I saw the tweet come in, so I'd retweeted it. So yes, you broke it in our private group chat, but I tweeted it out already. But yeah,
I just didn't care. That's why I didn't get your joke.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, it's interesting. So we've been playing in the CCSA, the Coastal Collegiate Sports Association, which is basically a conference that only has swimming, diving, and beach volleyball. And now basically Conference USA did not sponsor beach volleyball before this, but had a number of USA teams that were in the CCSA with Georgia State. So they split it up, and they took 4 teams from Conference USA, 3 teams from the Sun Belt, and the Conference USA now sponsors beach volleyball. And I was kind of curious about why they would do that, because we had some cool teams that we played against in that CCSA: FSU, LSU, South Carolina, TCU, UAB. Well, I guess UAB is going to be with us as well. But like, I don't care what the sport is. I want to be in a conference. I want that sport to be in a conference with FSU and LSU in South Carolina.
I mean, maybe didn't soccer start in a conference with South Carolina and then move on or something like that, or South Carolina moved on?
Does the SEC not sponsor soccer?
I feel like they don't.
I think you're right.
There's some weird hiccup there that we were in a conference with South Carolina.
I
don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because there's not a lot of eyeballs there. I don't think. Well, I don't think it matters.
Well, I think what they did, though, I think it's kind of clever. What they did, based off what I was reading on the CCSA announcement, is basically they split it up because both Conference USA and the CCSA will have auto bids into the NCAA championship. So now they had 14 teams or something in the CCSA, and so now with one team making the or however many teams making the NCAA tournament, now by splitting up conferences, you have a better chance to get more teams in the NCAA tournament. I don't know. That was it.
But what does that do? What does that even do for us? Like I know we're supposed to support everything, but like, I just don't know what it means.
I think it gives us an easier chance to get an NCAA bid.
All right. I'll take it. That's money, right?
Yeah. I mean, I want our athletes to play for national championships. Yeah. So that's cool.
Well, and our beach volleyball has been really good. Maybe last year they slipped a little, but just from their inception, they've been very good.
Yes, they have. Like I said, I was on the press conference with Coach Lanier. I got to ask him a question, Ryan, about scheduling.
Cool. Should I just mute myself now for a little while you talk to yourself about scheduling?
No, I just asked.
Tim's not here. He's the one who would banter with you about this, and I won't because it's boring.
Well, Coach Hunter has been on record saying that it was hard scheduling. Like, he never heard no so many times trying to do a home schedule. So that was my question, was like, have you experienced the same thing at Georgia State that Coach Hunter did? And he kind of beat around the bush a little bit, kind of just talked about scheduling philosophy and everything. And obviously his history comes from Tennessee and Texas and Miami, I forget. Anyhow, about how when he was playing when he's with those teams, you can schedule the big boys, and then you basically buy 6 or 7 wins that come into your home stadium. You hope you plan to beat the big he didn't say the team names. I'm saying a Duke or a North Carolina. You hope and you play to beat them, but then that even if you lose, that you can just purchase 6 or 7 wins from other teams, but that's not what Georgia State has the opportunity to do. And then the curse of actually being good in your home stadium, like as a mid-major, as Georgia State is, when you're good, nobody wants to come play you because they're going to lose. So you basically have to seek out the other teams that are in the kind of the same position that you are, of like can't get scheduled home games because they're good and play them, but. I know it's kind of cool. It's kind of interesting.
I was going to say, it seems like people that are perceived at our level would probably want to play us just to take the chance to knock us off.
Right. It sounds like there's a lot of scaredy cats in college basketball.
Well, I think that makes sense too, but
yeah.
Who knows?
There was one thing he said that there was a little bit talking about the new convocation center. And we kind of got a little nervous about how it seems like from the drawings and what we can see, it looks like it's going to be cramped in there. Yeah, and he got to do his hard hat tour of it recently. And he says, driving from the outside, it's hard to tell how big it is on the inside. So hopefully once we actually get in there.
All right. Wait, so
I feel like it's the same thing I would tell my dates when I was younger. It may look small on the outside, but it's going to be much bigger on the inside.
It's Doctor Who, right? It's the TARDIS, bigger on the inside. But does it look cramped? I've not experienced that. I think it looks plenty big. I don't understand.
There were some tweets that came out, or tweets. There was a tweet of some pictures that came out, and it looked like from the top rows that basically the steel beaming was like at your head level. And just look at very, very cramped and claustrophobic at the top. But those are construction pictures.
Yeah,
Who knows?
We'll see.
Yeah.
Who knows? The thing is, I would hate to like have that criticism and then walk in on day one and be like, oh my God, this is fantastic. Like, why would we even talk about this for half a second?
No, I want to set expectations incredibly low so that when I go in there and it's phenomenal, it's even more phenomenal.
Yeah.
Do you care what the other teams in conference did last week?
No. Nope.
Monroe beat Troy.
Oh, I sort of cared about that, and then I didn't. So
yeah, that's about as far as I cared about it.
Monroe 1 is interesting. I don't know who Troy is still. They're
they were picked to be better than us in our division by a lot of people this season. So
they may as well be called the Troy football team. I don't know who they are. So
Troy State.
Yeah, I'm just not that interested.
The interesting thing I thought about that though is their quarterback, Monroe's quarterback, apparently experienced a collapsed lung, and got a collapsed lung during the game, and played the entire game. He went to the ICU after the game, but he played the entire game.
Lung and was playing.
I guess I don't know everything. Let me put it this way: he got injured in the first quarter of the game, played the entire game. After the game, went to the ICU with a collapsed lung, and it's
Good God.
And it's Rich Rodriguez's kid, the offensive coordinator. It's his son.
Man.
So I guess you don't disappoint Dad. You got to play.
I have a lot of opinions about that, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We don't have to do that on the
podcast. One thing I guess of a little bit of note is apparently Appy State has a big beef with Marshall. I guess they had, back in their FCS days, that was a big rivalry, I guess, because the schools are relatively close and had a lot of back and forth. So they played each other as an out of conference game this week, and App won 31-30, so a close game. So they're gonna be pretty happy about that. I don't know if that has anything to do with mentalities coming in here next week. Trash Down South lost.
And they lost more than just the game. They lost a coach.
They did lose a coach.
Ha ha.
Do you want to talk about that here or talk about it on last call?
We can talk about it on last call. We also talked about it for quite a bit on the was it black
That's
and
true.
gold?
Yeah. So we'll save it for last call. Yeah. If there's two things that, or there's two things, if there's one thing that two podcasts from Georgia State, App State want to do is talk about the trash down south.
That's right. Yeah, we should talk them for quite some time.
All right. Well, this week, tell me if any of these games sound anywhere even like interesting to you. Monroe at Coastal. Coastal favored by 34.5 points.
No.
Troy at South Carolina. South Carolina favored by 7.
You know, another program that I don't have a lot of feelings about, that would be South Carolina.
South Carolina.
They don't do anything for me. I don't.
Nothing. Well, you can talk about that next year when we go up there with the bus.
I'll tell them when we beat them.
Yeah. Arky State at the Trash, -2. Trash is favored by 2.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's a weird.
I'm kind of surprised as well. And then Lafayette favored 12.5 points at South Alabama. South Alabama is undefeated right now.
Yeah. And did we talk about Appy's? Appy's got 10 points on us, right?
Yes. Yeah. I didn't include that, but yeah, I guess I should have mentioned that before.
We just haven't talked about it yet. That's all. Usually we would have discussed that.
We would discuss that already. Yeah. They're favored by 10. I was forced to give a prediction. We didn't do predictions, I don't think, last night talking to those guys. They forced me to give a prediction, and I decided that I'm going to go with 24-19 Georgia State. That was the score we were leading Auburn with before everything went to crap.
I think that's solid. I would probably say 24, 10.
I told them that I think that it's going to be a low-scoring game like it was last season, and if one team scores 20 or more points, well, obviously it's going to be a team that scores 20 or more points. They're not going to have both teams score 20 or more. I don't think so. So that was kind of my logic on it, and I think it's going to be us.
Yeah, and I think they brought it up. We've lost 7, right? I mean, we've played them. Is it 7 times?
7 in a row. 0-7 against the Mountaineers.
That's crazy, man. We got to win at some point. That's what I was telling them, and I don't feel like they disagreed with me. Like law of averages, we just got to win one eventually, right? I mean, you can't just lose all the games.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's exactly what I said tonight with them as well. Yeah, at some point we got to win. It's just the law of that. Well, it's kind of like my daughter. My oldest, my youngest, doing her shoes, puts on left foot, right foot. You figure law of averages, roughly 50% of the time she's gonna get left foot, right foot correct.
Right.
That's my 2.5-year-old. My 4.5-year-old. The same logic should apply, maybe even better, because she's 2 years older. My kid could not figure out what the left and right foot shoe look like. So that's what we've been so far against App State. We've not been able to figure out what shoe you put on your foot. I don't know if that analogy makes any sense whatsoever at all, but I want to make fun of my daughter.
But I was going to let it go until you questioned it. So
yeah, I just want to make fun of my daughter because that's what good parenting's like. So I don't think it even makes sense to talk about rankings right now because barely any conference games have been played. Yeah, I think it was 43 minutes. We can go ahead and head on to last call.
All right, without Tim too.
Yeah, screw that guy, right?
I won't say
he's on vacation.
He's not gonna listen to this all the way
He's
through.
on vacation with his family in Florida. They're at dinner right now, so yeah. Let's take a look at the comments right now. Let's see. Did you hear Matt Brown from Extra Point saying the GSU would stay in the Sun Belt even if the AAC offered an invite? Yeah, did you see that, Ryan?
I did. I heard the same thing. And I think that's probably the right move. Like sit and wait to see how it all pans out and where the teams fall, because it seems like some people are saying no and some people are saying yes, and we don't know what the conferences are going to look like. And I feel like the AAC with those 3 teams gone is not looking nearly as good. I mean, they might be CUSA, a couple of years ago, thinking that they were going to be climbing the ladder, taking all these good teams, and then kind of shitting the bed on that one. So
yeah, I'm beginning to agree with that line of thought. I think that it's more or less, it's not that we don't necessarily want to be with the teams that are left. It's what is that conference going to look like in 2 to 3 years from now? Because the Big 12 said that they're probably not done, which means Memphis is likely to leave as well. And then also with the American, like it sounds like they're adding Colorado State and Air Force. Those are not games that we want to put our Olympic athletes on and travel to every single year. That's a huge cost.
Right.
So if American was loading up on more East Coast teams or just Eastern or even more Central teams, it's kind of good. I mean, I've been very, very open about how I feel about this conference. But yeah, I think right now it makes more sense to stay pat and just wait to see how things fall out.
Yep.
And this doesn't mean that we still don't join the American Conference. It means that right now we need to see what the American's going to do, what the Big 12 is going to do, and then there's also some talk that USM has been is all but going to be joining Sun Belt here.
It sounds like there's legit smoke, and I feel like when all this conference realignment happens, when there is legit smoke, it means it's going to happen in a couple days. I mean,
right.
That's sort of been the experience. Is nothing gets leaked until it's real, and it's real. I think So we're going to have Southern Miss, and then Marshall is still in the not legit smoke, but in the heavily talked about stage, I feel like. And that, I mean, I think Marshall and USM would just be great programs to be in a conference with.
I agree. I think that both those programs really elevate where the Sun Belt is as far as competitiveness. Marshall, obviously, both in football and basketball. Southern Miss just more of as almost a name recognition type thing because they've been struggling of late, but I like those two editions. And I like an East-West edition. It doesn't mess up the divisions we have right now. So,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Let's see. The Coastal game does sound boring, but I have a Sun Belt team favored by 30 points is cool.
But aren't they favored over another Sun Belt team?
Yeah, exactly. Does it negate itself that they're favored over a conference mate? It's a good point. Yeah, you're favored 34.5 points over a team that's supposed to be your peer. Showing the real parity that is Sun Belt football. So
you made a comment though in our Patreon chat that we just need to make sure that we are the top of the Sun Belt year in and year out, and that will do its job. And so, I think you're just right. We just need to start competing where we are instead of worrying about being in the AAC that we don't know what it's going to look like in a year or two. We don't know what it's going to look like next month. I mean,
Yeah, no, that's what we got to do. We need to become, the top team in the East, top team in the conference. Playing that championship game every year, get known there, and just be a better team athletically from top to bottom. And I think that's what's going to happen with facility improvements. The Convocation Center is going to. I think just having that facility is going to help the basketball program, which is already probably the best program we have with the university. If we can get baseball down there, softball down there, soccer's already moved over. Women's, we didn't talk about other sports, and I'm not going to get into it, but women's soccer continues to do well this season.
Nice.
Picked up I think a win and a tie since we talked last week. So
we talk a lot about this, but we need to get to a game.
Yeah. Actually, in our private group chat, the talk of soccer came up right before we came on, and I wanted to reply that yes, we need to get a State of Atlanta night or day over at the soccer facility.
Yeah.
So I'll take a look at the schedule and see if we can.
Do the men and women play back to back, or do they play?
That's exactly what I want to do. I want to see if I can find a day where they both play there. I don't know if they do that logistically. I'm not sure if that's going to be easy for them to do, but I know they've got. I was wondering when they made that facility for both of them if they would kind of make it like a, for a men's game, it's men's locker room and everything. Women's day is women's locker room. But no, they actually did split it in half. So the men and women have their own separate locker rooms over there. Cool. So it's possible, I would think, that they could have 2 games without having to worry about moving everything out, everything in for a game. But yeah, we need to get out there.
Man, I remember touring that facility when they first built it as a training facility for football, and just thinking how cool it was. I bet that's just a really cool, like, I don't know.
Oh, it's
Soccer
got to be
facility.
so much better than what they had at Panthersville.
Do they even have a locker room out there? I mean,
No, they had to change. They had to change at their dorms, then hop on a Panther Express and drive 9 miles out to Panthersville.
Can the Panther Express even go that far? I mean, is it a real car? I don't even know, man.
I mean, it's not a battery. I think they can just throw a couple extra cans of gas in the back.
They're not in the golf carts. Like
nothing says starting a soccer game like the smell of gasoline in your shuttle bus on the way over to the field. So. Yeah. All right. We're going to wrap this up and do last call, but I'm going to post a link for those of you that are watching right now in our comments. This is a link to watch if you would like to watch now, watch the conversation that Ryan and I had with the Black and Gold podcast, Alex and Charles, last night. So it's just over an hour of us talking about Georgia State, App State, trash down south, and whatever else came up. It was a good time. It was a real good time. And then for the podcast listeners, the actual audio listeners, it will be released as a part 2. So when we finish this up, it should roll straight into that episode, however your podcast app is set up. So, yeah. Thanks for listening. I'm going to put the little tagline thing at the end of the part 2 episode about everything, but consider contributing to our Patreon. I'm going to talk about it again. Consider contributing to our Patreon. $3 a month helps us buy cool mics and
join the chat.
And join the chat. That's the fun part, being able to talk to you guys and hear what we talk about all week before we lead into the episode. That's a lot of fun. And then also discounts on our merchandise and other stuff at merch.
Where can people get our merchandise? And are there any discount codes or anything like that this week?
No.
Oh boy. I was trying to help, man. I was trying to help.
Merch.stateofatlanta.com to pick up cool swag. I saw a few pictures in the pictures from the Auburn game. I saw a few of our shirts out there in the stands, so it's kind of cool seeing that stuff out there. Be a cool kid. Join the crowd. Do what others are doing. Don't be individual. Be like us.
Be like one of us. One of us.
Yeah. So. Thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next week. Well, we'll talk to you in a minute when you listen to the part 2 episode. Then after that, we'll talk to you. We'll talk to you next week. So say goodbye, Ryan.
Goodbye, Ryan.